So it's day 3 now of Edinburgh Fringe, and reviews start to come in. Some were coming in yesterday, and hopefully you've had good news in terms of good star ratings, which is what pretty much everybody does in the reviewing world these days. You're happily putting star ratings onto your flyers, onto your social media, onto your posters, and some pull quotes that are saying positive things about your show, and you're glad you're doing well. Congratulations. But as I spoke to somebody yesterday out on the streets, seeing how their show was going, they'd had one review in, it was a 2-star, they were disappointed. And these days at the Edinburgh Fringe, most people are disappointed with 3 stars or below. So 4 and 5 become the key game yet again here at the Edinburgh Fringe. And the 2-star review might have one positive quote that you can take, and the 2-star review, even the 1-star review, might have some specific and helpful feedback about why you got that rating, and you might want to accept or not accept that feedback as helpful to your show. But the sense of disappointment is always there, and this is just a reminder to you that the more you look at that review online, the more you're obsessed with it, the more likely it is to appear in other people's searches, because that's the nature of this game. And the best thing to do is to leave it alone. Don't keep clicking on it. Don't keep noticing it again and again, as it degrades your happiness and satisfaction at the Fringe as you wait hopefully for another review to come in. I do have a concern as well that talking to some reviewers who are tapping away at their laptop, some staring off into space because they've become so good at typing. Literally, I can't imagine me ever doing it, but how fast they are. And that their big act of pride, their trophy, is that they've managed to get 15 reviews up since they saw the shows the previous day. And I don't believe it's possible to reflect properly on a piece of work in the arts. And it suggests to me that their fingertips are running ahead of their brain and even faster than their heart. And I think that reflection takes longer than that, and that you have to dive deep into a review. Now, some people may be able to do that, but there are far too many people in the reviewing world trying to get reviews up as fast as possible so they can get on to gobbling up the next show. And you may well have had a reviewer in that's more interested in how fast they type than how deep they think. And particularly if you read a review and you think this doesn't reflect my show at all, that may well be what's happening, particularly if the review's gone up within 24 hours. And we ignore that, of course, if we get a good review. But if you get a bad review, there's always been some advice to take it with a pinch of salt. And one of the reasons to do that is because that review is very unlikely to be seen by many people, and certainly not after 24 hours. So the only person giving it attention may be you, for understandable reasons. But that's when, more than ever, it's important to believe in your work and to focus on what you do. And if you believe your show is good, and maybe you had some good positive feedback from your peers and from people back home, and even some good reviews, the Edinburgh effect can sometimes mean that a 4-star review at home can suddenly become a 2-star review. That may well be a rogue review as well. It might just be you've had bad luck, it's come out really quickly, and it's a bit of tough luck for you. So it might seem a bit obvious to say, but believing in your work is just to get on with it. More reviews will come in, and if you believe in the work and it is good work, positive reviews will come in too. But the danger is that we just look at our own reflection all the time in that review, and all we see is bad, and that steals our energy, that steals our motivation, and it may well be that that review has simply been hurried up and hasn't seen the work properly. So I encourage you to move on from it really, really quickly, and don't give it the attention that puts it up the search engine results anyway. The other side of it, which I'm seeing more and more, is the power of audience reviews straight onto social media. And one antidote to a rogue review can be to simply, at your next show, is to capture some short videos and audience reaction and get that up on social media as soon as possible. People are watching those. People are absolutely wanting to hear from the people that have just come out of a show and had a really good experience of your show. So it can almost become an antidote to a review that's been overly negative about your show. There's a lot of reviewing up here because I'm keeping an eye on it about I liked, I didn't like, rather than it was good or it wasn't good. And there really, for me, is a difference between those two things. So I also invite you to notice the style of the review and to see if it was more like a reviewer going to a restaurant and saying, I didn't like this meal, so it's a terrible restaurant, rather than, well, I didn't like it, but actually I can still see how beautifully cooked this is and it just didn't agree with my own palate. That's different from this is a bad meal. And a lot of that's happening, and I think that happens particularly, and people hallucinate being cleverer than they are and wiser than they are when they're just typing fast and fast, which was the point I made earlier. So I just want to reaffirm you, the work that you brought to the Edinburgh Fringe, and that first review, if it's followed by a lot more negative reviews, then it might be worth thinking about how you can improve your show. But if it's just a one-off and it's come in earlier, you've got a lot of days to go at the Fringe, particularly if you're doing a longer run. Believe in yourself, move on from it, don't give it much attention. Very few people are reading it anyway, and the only reason it's appearing in your search engines is that you keep reading it.